Hello there, I am Lamin Jai and this is News Review. Thank you very much for joining us. Coming up on the show today, Gambia political leaders return to the country after days of talks in Abuja. Find out what souvenir these political leaders brought. They were in Abuja for talks over the crisis-gripped draft constitution. Myself, I was at the airport together with Sajo. We managed to speak with a number of the political leaders. We have a full, extensive report on that. Gambians, however, have also been sharing their thoughts on the political leaders there traveling to Abuja for the talks there. But also, Salih Tal, the president of the Gambia Bar Association, will provide some analysis for me a little later. For all of this, we'll quickly see what the newspapers are saying. We'll begin with the Standard newspaper. The lead story is saying Abuja Constitution talks collapse. Participants due back today. In fact, they have arrived this evening. TRRT witness government lied about migrants massacre. Police investigate mysterious killings in Nyamina. Nurses decry new allowances for doctors, PhD holders. We'll just quickly see what the papers are saying. So according to the Standard, they have been reliably informed that the much talked about Gambia constitutional tour Nigeria have been put off after the discussants failed to reach agreement on whether President Barrow's current term should be counted as the first of two terms, among others. Find out, we managed to speak with a number of almost all the parties. 15 political leaders attended these talks there, among them UDP leader Dabo, Hamad Ba of the NRP, Mama Kande GDC, Sheikh Tijan Hydra of GANU, you have Sidin Jai of NPP, Mai Fati of GMC, as well as Dr. Ismail Asise. All of them were there. TRRC witness government lied about migrants massacre. Usman Jallo, a senior officer of the NIA, has told the Truth Commission that the former government lied to the United Nations and the ECOWAS investigation mission about the massacre of at least 50 African migrants in the Gambia in the year 2005. Police investigate mysterious killings in Nyamina. Police have opened an investigation into another mysterious killing in Nyamina, the third in 6 months. Commenting on the latest killing, which occurred on Tuesday night, Superintendent Lamin Jai said, "We can confirm the incident of the suspected murder of 56-year-old Bambo Dabo at Nyamina Kudang village in the Central River region." Nurses decry new allowances for doctors, PhD holders. The Nurses and Midwives Association has said the recent increment of allowances to doctors and PhD holders is discriminatory and a slap in the face of junior health workers and other specialists who continue to experience inappropriate working conditions and low salaries. Let's see what the Point newspaper is reporting on today. More revelations on disappeared West African migrants there. Well, the TRRC has started hearing into that brutal extermination of over 50 West African migrants back in 2005. Fisherman reportedly killed in Kudang. I think that's reported by the Standard 2020 FIU report. $60 million is laundered while fraud rampant in Gambia. Jonathan meets 15 Gambian party leaders in Abuja. So according to the Point newspaper, Maulud Fall of the Gambia Police Force and Usman Jallo of the State Intelligence Service yesterday testified before the TRRC, giving recollections of their knowledge on the arrest and detention of about 52 West African migrants who were stranded in the country on July 22nd, 2005. Yes, I think pretty much that is it on the newspapers. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Thank you and welcome back. So Gambian citizens have been reacting or sharing their thoughts on the decision there by our political leaders to travel to Abuja, Nigeria to meet the former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan to discuss a consensus to a deal around the crisis-gripped draft constitution. Farukama tells us more.
Gambia political leaders are currently in Abuja to meet former Nigerian leader Goodluck Jonathan to discuss ways forward to the draft constitution. Many Gambians have, however, expressed disappointment about this move of the political leaders. Usainu Gambia is part of those.
I think this is so disappointing and so embarrassing as a citizen, my point of view. The Gambia is a sovereign state. You can recall a week back we were celebrating our 56th independence. That shows how sovereign Gambia is, how independent Gambia is, a nation that can do away with the external forces and tackle its own personal or internal affairs. More importantly, there's something that has to deal with the draft constitution, something that has to deal with our way of life, the law that could tell us what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say, where to go, where not to go. So this is something that is directly affecting us. A constitution is a process that the citizens have their direct voice on it. So we can all recall that some time ago the Constitutional Review Commission was set up with the taxpayers of almost $116 million, a huge amount of money. And but unfortunately, after the entire process, the voice of the governments were recorded, were heard. And we can recall that they make a consultation, both national and international, crisscross the length and breadth of the country. They not only go to the nationwide, but they also try to meet the relevant stakeholders, the political parties. In fact, the politicians that went to Abuja were all part of the process. So at the end of the day, it was so disappointing. The whole nation was disappointed that the draft constitution could not make it. So another step, it was flux. I would call it was flux in the toilet, or it was dumped in a waste bin.
Yusuf Taylor, popularly known as Flex Dan, also had his take on this issue.
It defies logic in so many ways, because I don't know how it makes sense to have about 10 people travel to go and meet one mediator, first of all. So financially, it doesn't really make sense. I don't know who's paying the bills, but looking at it the other way, at the end of the day, if they take out constitution talks out of this country, they are going to have to bring those same results here and pass it at the National Assembly. So it's definitely baffling, and it defies logic. They are going to have to bring whatever it is that they agree back to the Gambia for it to be decided on and ruled in the National Assembly anyway. So I don't see how it makes sense to travel all the way to Nigeria.
Usainu understands diplomatic plays positive. He, however, insists issues of a constitution affects its citizens directly.
We can equally understand that sometimes diplomacy works with country and country, or people and people, but this is a constitution that we are talking about. This is a law that affects you, affects he, affects she. It's the law of the Gambia. This law is going to affect me more than Goodluck Jonathan or a Nigerian or any other one. So it's something that the Gambians should have their voice, 100% voice, before we listen to people, and we have to listen to our own self. So the suggestion should be, we have the National Assembly representing the people, we have the executive representing the people. If they truly want to give the constitution the second trials, let them come together. We solve it in our Gambian way, and we make sure. Okay, how comes that? What about if the politicians went to Nigeria? Goodluck Jonathan was here, I think, twice about this discussion. Nothing was achieved. So they packed their luggages, everything, and went back. 116 million was spent on the constitution, and it was a waste of taxpayers' money. So we cannot afford to finance people again to go for constitutional discussion out of the country, whereas I know some parents are involved, some logistics are involved. That's equally come from taxpayers' money. In fact, we are wasting more money, and there's no progress made.
Dan said the National Assembly members failed Gambians. He further stressed the visit of Jonathan is a clear indication NAMs and political leaders wouldn't have had a dialogue. Dan said this is shameful.
The National Assembly have failed. And when I say National Assembly, I mean that collectively. So in my view, what should happen is there needs to have a dialogue between all the political parties. It's a shame that the National Assembly members and the political leaders will not come to the table if someone like Goodluck Jonathan doesn't come here to Gambia. So I feel I will separate the visit of Goodluck Jonathan here to Gambia and the visit of Gambian political leaders to Abuja. I do believe Goodluck coming was not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. But how far are they willing to take it? I don't think they need to travel to Nigeria, for example. But mediation talks is not a big problem, because Africans should be able to resolve African problems. And Goodluck Jonathan is an African coming here to help us resolve those problems. I don't think that's an issue with regards to mediation. It's traveling to Abuja that I feel is the issue, the problem.
Fatou Kamara reporting for the FAD Network News Review.
Now, the leaders have finally returned back to the country. We were at the airport, but one person who is quite central to this whole issue is the Minister of Justice, Dauda Jallow. In fact, he's the man who was tasked by cabinet, by the Barrow cabinet, to go about ensuring that there is a consensus, there is a deal over the draft constitution. We managed to speak with him as soon as he came out of the airport.
Honorable Minister, would you like to comment?
Like what?
The recently concluded constitutional talks that took place in Nigeria.
Yes, we are back. What question do you have?
Yeah, so what is the outcome?
Actually, it's going to continue here in 2 weeks from now. So the discussions are ongoing.
So at what level it is currently?
You know, it is an ongoing process. Actually, the state and my office, we are not participants. So we are facilitating a dialogue between the political parties. So they've reached almost a near unanimity on almost all the areas, except some few areas. So the eminent person.
You said few areas like what?
No, I would not be able to give you the details at the moment. So there'll be a press statement to that effect.
Honorable Minister, the last time we met at the Sarah Caraba Hotel during the CSO's meeting, you told us that the parties have almost agreed on all the other issues except the activity of the draft, which of course affects the president's first term.
Who said that to you?
I mean, at the meeting, you mentioned that. At the
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
Yeah. Does it remain the challenge
The retroactivity
of the draft?
of the term limit of the current president, of course, is one of the issues that they are still trying to reach a consensus on. Yes.
So are you sure when you come back, when you people come back to the Gambia, it will be addressed?
It's a negotiation. I cannot be saying that I am sure, okay? Because I'm not a participant myself. So it's between among them. But of course, yes, the spirit is high and they are all participating in good faith. I have a lot of hope, yes. In 2 weeks' time, when we have our last round in Banjul, I'm expecting that something positive will come out of it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There cannot be a bigger stakeholder than the National People's Party, the President's Party, that is it. The man who represented them at the Abuja talks is Sidi Njai, the top stalwart of the party. He spoke to the FAT network. Who attended the Abuja talks, Honorable Sidi Njai. Mr. Njai, thank you and welcome back home. First of all, what did you come with?
Well, we've made progress. Most of the issues that were, of course, contentious issues were raised, and most of the political parties, almost all the political parties except one, agree on everything. But I hoped when we resume the talks in about 2 weeks' time here in Banjul, we will be able to communicate to the Gambian people. But it was very fruitful, very frank, and all political parties came up with their position. And thank God, all of them who were in present agreed except one.
Which political party did not agree and what is their reason?
I wouldn't want to disclose that for now, but maybe probably the organizers would, in the coming days, would want to tell Gambians what was the bone of contention, which political parties agree and which political party doesn't agree.
Gambians raised a lot of eyebrows over your attendance of this meeting. They said, why Sidi Njai? Why would NPP choose Sidi Njai to attend such an important meeting? Do you have anything to say about this?
Definitely, I won't respond to that.
Why wouldn't you respond?
Oh, well,
It has to do with your person.
I won't respond to that. I represent my party. I won't respond to that.
Why is it that a lot of people have reservations about you?
I won't respond to that. I won't respond to that.
Do you mean you have no comment whatsoever over that?
No, not at all. Any question? Any other question?
Maybe, Sidi, before you left for Abuja, it was very clear that the only problematic issue about the whole...
Mid-Sour and Tracy, the top 8 finalists of the BL Star Sierra Leone. Their lives changed from day one. New original songs. Be famous and successful. Be a star in the Gambia.
On the biggest stage right now in Sierra Leone.
Being a part of BStar is going a step further in chasing my dreams and my career as an artist.
All you have to do is record a video of you singing your favorite song, not more than 2 minutes long. Send the video by WhatsApp to the following number, 2299944, using an AfriCell number. State your name and where you're from. Be a winner of a fully recorded album and $500,000. AfriCell Be a Star, your road to success.
Still on the political leaders' Abuja trip there, as the leader of the Gambia Action Party, Musa Hussein Yali Bachili, also spoke to members of the press.
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Bachili,
yes.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Would you like to share a few words regarding this recently concluded constitutional talk that you guys had in Nigeria?
But the constitutional talk, man, well, Toby is nice. We left Gambia to Abuja, Banjul for Abuja, and Wahitan in Bibana, but on the 8th, inshallah. So good luck, Jonathan, soon your way. And we can further strengthen the conversation, but there will be a compromise, inshallah. For regular, yeah.
But do you have anything to say? Because a lot of Gambians are outraged by the fact that people like you in position, it was clear from the beginning, but yet still, you participate on this trip.
Well, they have their constitutional right. Manko dega si social media ni dem jay Gambia, you know, maybe they bribe us. Xam nga ñiti dañu wax lu rek. Who can sell Gambia? The love that we have for Gambia, especially Gab-led government, is not a joke. Man du ma jógee bàyyi fii suma business, suma politics, ma dem naa pour waxtaan ay lu nga xam ne amul solo. The people are outraged. They have the right to talk. But okay, respect them, that's their constitutional right. But so the reason I'm talking to Wolof, I'm talking to the Gambians. I'm not talking to Europeans. I'm talking to the Gambians. That's because you will be recorded by Allah Azza wa Jal. Ñun political leaders naka la ñoo fly from here to Gambia, Abuja pour jaay suñu dëkk pour lan? Ku am xaalis boobu pour jël Gambia, and now we must be some out of our mind to do that. So then them break constitution, like I claim, we 16 leaders, we need to solve some issue in our own country. For now, them solve the other issue in proper negotiate orders in people's countries, a different thing. So Maluma Warek more very simple. We never and we will never sell our homeland. This is our homeland. It's a beautiful homeland. Then them the nakala certain points of nakala turati se constitute like the retroactivity be active tense and before more hala jaffe tutere. But mashallah, we come to majority of the political leaders. They came to understanding. But when the ideal come back on the 8th, maybe on the 9th, ñu finalize ko inshallah lo rek mo fa nek ba ma ngi o Gambians ne bu len wax so len di wax dara lu nga xamne wax len lu nga xamne dafa concrete mo evidence ñu jaay sun deka hey madam am yo but you will never involve in that, neither honorable Kanda and others, they will never involve in that. So jaay deka bu lu waxtaan la ñiti rek ñoo de wax lolu we have bigger things to solve our issues lo mo fa nek I'm very humble and grateful. Yeah.
We will now go to the leader of the Citizens Alliance, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, who also made the trip, and he came under fire from a lot of Gambians.
I mean, it's not only me, it's about the entire political class. The political leaders should sit on one table so that there's common ground. Be the president, be the opposition leaders, I think it's important we sit and discuss so that everybody speaks his or her mind as to what they really want in this entire process. That would really be very important for the entire process.
How do you see the process? You were there the whole past few days. You must have a clue of what would happen. Do you think there is any chance of you coming in the consensus with regards to that?
Well, as in any negotiations, we go till the end. You cannot make premature judgments as to how it will end. Sometimes negotiations at the beginning can stall, but after further talks, they can loosen up. And sometimes the end always yields fruit. So I think we should wait until the end of the process before we make a judgment as to how it will go. For now, it will be premature for us to say whether it will be successful or not. The process is still on. It has not ended yet. This is part of the process. So for us, I think we'll wait until the end. His Excellency is coming next week. When he comes, then we'll continue with the process and see how it all ends.
Dr. Cisse, how do you react to the reservations that a lot of Gambians have when it comes to Citizens Alliance, your party and your person attending this meeting? You have a number of people who said that, in fact, this is a senseless activity. CA has been a party that has been very, active in terms of some of the condemnation that came from your party over the country's sovereignty, that it should not be outsourced. Yet you have CA joining political leaders all the way to Abuja to discuss something that really touches on our sovereignty.
There are three things here. Every Gambian has a right to his or her opinion. This is democracy, and we accept that. That is the importance of public opinion in political discussion of this country. So we accept that. However, when there was a political impasse in 2016, we went to Dakar to solve the impasse. In fact, the president was sworn in Dakar. Gambians were literally begging for ECOWAS to intervene, begging for the UN to intervene, begging for Senegal to intervene. Why didn't we say at that time that let our courts decide, because it's about our sovereignty? Why didn't we say at that time let the National Assembly decide?
But these are two different things.
No, but this is a constitutional impasse. It's an impasse. It's a constitutional impasse. A bill was taken to Parliament for us to have a new constitution. There was no consensus on the bill. It was thrown out. We have two options: to either negotiate to get a constitution or to go back to the 1997 constitution. It's still an impasse. An impasse is an impasse. Now, the question is not where it takes place. The process started in Banjul. I think Gambians should have condemned from the beginning that an eminent person is a Nigerian in the first place, but nobody condemned that. So it's about who is in the process and where it's taking place. The first two meetings took place in Banjul, and His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan came to Banjul. As part of the process, we went for a brainstorming session in Abuja. For me, in my view, everyone has a right to his opinion. It's not selling Gambia's sovereignty. Gambia's sovereignty is not for sale. We are responsible political leaders who are part of a process. It is either you are part of the process, and if you accept part of a process, you cannot determine where the discussions can take place. It could take, and for me, as far as we are concerned as a party, we want a new constitution for this country. If it means going to hellfire to get that constitution, we will go. So we have to look at things from a broader perspective and not focus on the narrowness of it.
What would you tell those who express disappointment in you, that they expect a Dr. Cisse politician to be different from what obtained, and now they see you joining this?
What do you mean by different? We accept to be part of a process which started discussions in Banjul. We are invited by His Excellency as special guest to have a brainstorming session. What is wrong with that? We did not go there to negotiate. The process started. I mean, we could have, if we had decided we are not part of the process, that's one thing, but we are part of the process. And if we are invited by His Excellency for a brainstorming session in Abuja, for us, we see nothing wrong in that. But people have a right to their opinion, like us, we see things different. That is politics. It's acceptable for people to see it differently. We see it differently. At the end of the day, what is important is the outcome. Do we want a new constitution or not? And for us, as far as we are concerned as a party, we want a new constitution, because our transition will be meaningless if we are to go for elections again without a new constitution.
Now, what one good thing did you come with from Abuja?
For us, it's a process, like I said. The process started in December. We had two meetings here when His Excellency came to Banjul. This is part of that process. So you have to look at the process in its entirety and not look at what we achieved in Abuja today. At the end of the process, it is when we will make judgment as to whether the whole entire effort is fruitful or not. That is, looking at in its entirety and not isolating this meeting from the broader meeting. So for us, I think it's not about what we achieve in Abuja. What we did in Abuja is to brainstorm in preparation of Goodluck's visit next week. So for us,
but clear, there was no deal, there was no consensus. At least one political party dissented.
But we did not go there to get consensus. Like us, it's part of a process. We might not get consensus in this meeting. We might get consensus in the next meeting. So for us, I think it's premature for us to say it's a failed trip. You wait until the entire process is over, and if there is no consensus, and the entire process is put on shelf, then we can make a judgment as to whether it was worth it or not. But for now, the process is still open and anything can happen.
Now, one last thing, and then I'll hand. Now, one thing that also a lot of Gambians are talking about has to do with the parties that would even have a representative at Parliament. Why is CA so important to this?
Listen,
when you don't even have an MP?
The constitutional process is not only about Parliament, it's about a referendum. We have a constituency and a base. We will have a huge influence when we go to a referendum. So we are part of the process. This is about all political parties should be represented because we all have a constituency in the Gambia. And when it comes to the referendum, we'll have a stake as well. So for me, it's not about who's in Parliament because the process starts in Parliament but ends up in a referendum. And every political party has a base, has a following, and will play a crucial role in the referendum.
What is the position of CA when it comes to the fiesta of the retroactivity of the draft? Because this is the issue. We have to admit that. This is the issue why the draft, the discussions are still wrangling on. What is the position of CA?
The position of CA is very simple, that a political compromise is needed for us to get a constitution. Politics is about compromise. At some point, you have to meet halfway through to find political ground. Our position is very clear, and I'm going to repeat it here. And I've said it in a meeting with His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, that CA is ready to compromise on the retroactivity if we are guaranteed that there will be a new constitution with three things. What are those three things? A term limit, 50+1, and the quota system. If we are guaranteed these three things in a new constitution before elections, then we are ready to discuss the issue of the retroactivity.
Thank you very much, Dabo.
Thank you.
Tough Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. Tough Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only an 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333. or 776-2333. Tough Africa.
Thank you. So what is the Gambia Democratic Party or Congress, leader Mama Kande saying? He too attended the talks.
Honorable Kande, Honorable nuyu nañ la. Nuyu naa la. Honorable lan nga ñu mëna wax tay ci trip bi nga xamne mo ngeen joggé ni Nigeria.
First of all, maa ngi sant Yàlla ne dem nañ si jàmm ñëw nañ si jàmm. Dañu on foofu. It's all about national issues. And mooy suñ affaire draft constitution bi boo xam ne indi woon nañ ko ci National Assembly bi. And it was thrown away, kind of. Léegi nag foog naa document boobu lañ bugg a indiwaat. Jonathan and the international idea ñëwoon nañ fi. Foog naa Jonathan ñëw na fi ñaari yoon di meet ak all political party leaders and stakeholders. Pour jëm cee waxtaan di seet yan jéego la ñoo jël to find a common ground xam ne ni mun nañ koo delluwaat ci National Assembly bi pour ñu député yi ratify ko and then mu dem référendum. Waaw loolu moo ñu yóbbu woon foofu.
Fu mu nekk nii nag gannaaw bi ngeen jógee dem wax bi bari na because daanaka xaafi Gambien si yëpp dañ mer ne lan moo tax Goodluck Jonathan si boppam ñëw na Gambia ñaari yoon lan ngeen fi waxut loo xam ne moo leen war a ekkati bi ngeen dem Nigeria war koo wax foofu noonu.
Waaw foog naa Gambien si waruñoo mer ñun we are Gambians like them ñun it ay doomi réew lañ te fooguma ne especially ñun ñoo xam ne ñu ngi vie for the office of the presidency. Ñu dem def loo xam ne ni lu jaaduwul la o loo xam ne ni du feebar suñu réew question boobu nag lan moo tax ñu war a dem foofu war nañ koo laaj the Ministry of Justice and Barrow Administration because su fekkee ne ñun rek la ñun kenn duñu fa invite waaye ñoom ñi dem ba foog ne war nañu ut mediator koo xam ne ne dina wax suñu diggante ba mu jaral leen ñu d'accord ak ñooñu ba ñu dem Nigeria ñun fu ñu oo fu nekk ci àdduna bi as long as it is national issue su fekkoon ne si safara sax dinañ fa dem pour réewi Gambia bi kon li tax ñu dem foofu o li tax ñu yóbbu foofu waxtaan bi loolu foog naa the Ministry of Justice ak Barrow administration would be in a better position to answer that question. Though ñun man personally question na loolu before madam Otena I don't want to mention names. Why the question, why do we need to go to Abuja for this? Why ku nekk rek mu ngi waaw honorable li moom nañ try rek is a retreat ma ne leen waaye sori na. I think it is cheaper bringing Jonathan and his team here to the Gambia than taking all party leaders to Abuja. Why the response was that they are not footing the bill. The international idea ñoom ñooy foot bill bi ma ne leen waaw waaye still the same su fekkee ne ñoom ñoo koy foot sax man daal suma xel jàpp ko waaye su fekkee ne ñëpp dañ nañ and it's a national cause suñ ootee war na ñëw uyu ji. One thing lañ ko war a make clear that we as Gambians man foguma ne am na kenn koo xam ne ni bugga na Gambia bi ba passé ñu because place yu ñoo ut dañ bugg a jiite Gambia kon Gambia du nekk réew boo xam ne ni man day I would associate myself ci anything loo xam ne daf ko yaaxa o daf ko delloo gannaaw. Gambian si war nañ appreciate tamit ñun tamit suñ position ñun we are there and anywhere in this world to represent the Gambia and Gambian people to the best interest of anything loo xam ne ni mu ngi maintain suñ sovereignty in the better foundation for the younger generation to come. So foog naa lii war nañ ko understand noonu joguñ rek dem waaye the question as I said I think the Ministry of Justice or the Barrow administration would be in a better position to respond to that question. Dama feel ne waruñoo woon a am mediator from the beginning koo xam ne ni is from outside waaye dafa am yaaxu bu am already boo xam ne ni waroon nañu mun a ñàkk a am and that is buñ throwee the draft constitution in the National Assembly some people were jubilating te ñoom nguur gi ñoom ñoo wax ne ñoom dañoo ñëw ak with a new constitution. They spend so much money, time and everything ñuñ sason loolu mooy di CRC dem nañ aduna bi fu nekk dem nañ Gambia bu nekk try to meet Gambians ñu ñëw ak with a document. It would be shocking su fekkee ne ñoom ñi nga xam ne ñoom ñoo taxaw pour document boobu am ñu dellu di yaaxa loolu ba pare di celebrate di jubilate naan they have butchered the constitution. Xam nga loolu du neex ñoo xam ne ni ñoom ñoo ko votoon te foogoon naa ne ñëpp a ci waroon a jàppa. In the meantime nag amul dara loo xam ne ni maa ngi gis ci newspapers yi ñu naan waaw negotiation bi collapse na man gisuma dara lu fa collapse because Jonathan dafi war a ñëw next week or the second week of March kon still there is a room for discussion. The position of the GDC nag mooy ñun we are in for the draft constitution because loolu lañ waxoon ne moom la Gambian si bugga te lu Gambian si bugga rek ñun war nañ ko bugga. In the event na loolu mënut a am the 1997 constitution is there ñoom buñ toogee ba léegi boobu la ñoo use waaye push and pull bi yëpp dafa jógee si nguur gi ñoom ñoo ko commencé te tey dem nañ ba réalise ne xëy na du nii lañ ko waroon a defee at the end of the day ñu ni neen war nañ mun a toog ñu solve suñ problems su fekkee ne create na that atmosphere waaye dama gëm ne soo gisee ñu dem uti mediator rek dañ gëm ne ñoom mënuñoo mun a convince kenn waaye there could have been other Gambians ñoo xam ne ni war nañ mun a taxaw si position boobu ñu ne neen ñu waxtaan su ñoo doorante si suñ biir néeg ak lu ci mën di nekk ñu solve our problems. Unfortunately demeewut noonu xëy na den feel ne amuñ keneen koo xam ne ni war na koo mun a mediate si diggante bi yëpp si ñoom la rek waaye our position ñun mooy ne ñu ngi koo support maa ngi dégg am na ñuy wax UDP man dégguma dara lu UDP wax ne completely du ko support xanaa all the amendments yuñ fa def ñoom support nañ ko xanaa kay the procedure nuñ ko war a indee to the National Assembly fii mooy difference bi of which I believe su waxtaan amee war nañ mun a déggoo waaye dama foog ne rek it's just too early pour naan dafa collapse di xam nga di sànni ay xeer loolu yëpp jaru ko nañ bàyyi ba yëpp jeex ak lu ci mun di nekk the outcome everybody will see. Thank you.
After all these talks, are you really hopeful that the bill will be given a chance again?
Well, I have just said this. It's something that we haven't concluded yet. The former president will still come here by the second week of next month, and the discussion will continue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, mighty UDP made itself colossal at the talks. Well, there are two gray areas, two issues that UDP deferred or dissented when it comes to these talks there, which caused the talks not to be as successful as one would want. So their party leader, Dabo, was there. I tried to speak with him.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. How are you? Welcome back.
Thank you.
How was your trip? How was your trip, Honorable? Welcome back home, Honorable Dabo. Honorable.
Sorry.
Honorable. So Mr. Dabo has declined to comment. Honorable, how was your trip? What did you come with? Honorable, do you have a word for the Gambian people?
No comment.
Honorable, do you have any comment over the trip? So that is Honorable Dabo, Senu Dabo there. They just arrived from Abuja, Nigeria, where they took part in talks over the draft constitution. They just arrived at the Banjul International Airport. We've managed to speak with a number of political leaders, but he has declined to comment on the trip. The understanding is that it is the UDP that did not really agree to some of the issues there. So that is the situation. Now, Mr. Diba, that is one person UDP official who went with Mr. Dabo. Mr. Diba, do you have a comment? Do you have any comment? He said he doesn't want to say anything. So that is the situation here at the Banjul International Airport. At least 15 political leaders traveled earlier this week to Nigeria to meet former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan over the draft constitution. The former Nigerian leader has traveled into the country twice to meet with them really over the draft constitution after it failed at Parliament, where 23 MPs voted it down. So there is this crisis over this very important charter. So that is the situation. The information is that almost all the parties agreed to the issue of retroactivity, that the retroactive clause be knocked out of the charter, which will pave the way for President Adama Barrow to be able to do 2 fresh 5-year terms once the new constitution is adopted. The other issue which UDP also did not agree to at the Abuja talks is the issue of the procedure, how and the way and manner in which the draft constitution should be taken back to Parliament. What the other parties agreed to really actually is to do the amendments, all the necessary changes, including the retroactive clause there, and then once the amendments are done, then the charter would be taken to Parliament. But the understanding or what we've gathered is that UDP did not agree to this. UDP stood their ground and insisted that the charter should be returned to the National Assembly. If at all it will be taken back to the National Assembly, nothing should be touched when it comes to that document. Lamin Jai reporting for the Father Network News Review at the Banjul International Airport.
Gamiba Association. He will provide some analysis for us. Mr. Tal, Barrister Tal, thank you for joining me. Wonderful. First of all, what is your take on almost all of the nation's political leaders jetting out to Nigeria to discuss on an issue that has to do with the very Gambian state, the constitution?
What is my take as whether they should go to Nigeria?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, ideally, I would have expected that our issues could have been addressed in the Gambia. I don't even think we need a mediator or international mediator in the first place. So, I mean, but all the same, I mean, I think all those political leaders make those decisions based on their own calculation.
And I guess their own desire to give a possibility of us having a constitution.
Talk about dissect this whole issue, the issue of the Gambia getting a new constitution and this new path. If things were things, or things had gone the way they should have gone, we wouldn't have been talking about political leaders traveling to Abuja, Nigeria. This draft constitution was supposed to be voted by members of the National Assembly so that Gambians would have that opportunity to vote either yes or no, whether they want it to be their new law, new constitution or not. But that failed. And now the government decided to come up with this, so-called dialogue process. Do you think it made sense at all in terms of this new route?
I think it's not a yes or no answer. I mean certainly I believe that Gambia should have a new constitution before the election. That's my belief, and I think every patriotic Gambian wants us to have a third republic. And I think any initiative that allows us the opportunity of having a constitution certainly makes sense. I mean, as to the way it's done, there are a lot of questions and issues around it, issues of legitimacy, issues of whether or not we need an international personality to mediate or act as an interlocutor, and also perhaps the lack of transparency in the whole process. In my view, for example, a lot of the information about what is happening, it's not readily available. I think all of us get the news from Nigerian websites. So the initiative is good in terms of giving it a chance, but the modalities. I have a lot of questions to ask, and I saw many Gambians.
The issues that have caused all of this at the parliament, MPs, they disagreed over certain issues. But this entire time, the one thing that kept wasting the time of the entire country and the people has to do with the issue of retroactivity, whether the president's current term should be counted or not. Well, if you go to the Constitutional Review Commission, the commission that was tasked to cobble up this document, well, what they would tell you is that they went to the Gambian people, and the Gambian people, they asked the Gambian people whether they want the president's current term to count. And the Gambian people told them yes. And that is why they put that in the draft. Yet it went to parliament, and you have MPs who support the president, who are sympathetic to the president, who say no, that is discriminatory. We are not supporting that. We are not taking that. And they voted against it. In terms of that problem, that issue of retroactivity, do you think it is fair at all for the entire country to be held at ransom over that?
Absolutely not. I think it is really sad, and I'm actually disheartened that the fate of our nation hangs on whether or not the incumbent will have a chance to serve up to 15 years. I think really, given where we came from and what we fought for, we fought against tyranny, against dictatorship, against self-perpetuating rule. I think the president himself should have been the first one to accept that condition. I think he should have been the first one to accept that condition. That's my point of view. I think the issue of the retroactivity is a political issue. It's not a legal issue. And if the CRC has gone around the country and the population has by and large spoken and really want all their presidents going forward to serve 2 terms, I think Adam Barrow should set the example and do the right thing. So we should not be having this discussion right now. And I think that's why it all started. Up to now, we have not had the president on this issue. he's been mute on this issue. I think he should, he come out and make a statement and put the country first. And I think the moment he agrees to this position that, yes, he supports the Constitution, I really believe this Constitution will see the light of the day.
Have to say about the fact that almost 15 of all the political parties, you have about what, 15, 16 political parties, all seemingly agreeing or shifting ground or compromising, if you like, for the president to just about have his wish, or his supporters have their wish of him serving an extra 2 5-year terms under the new constitution. But you have UDP standing alone saying no, not giving in, saying that the current term of the president should count. What do you have to say about that? Almost all of the parties agreeing except UDP.
Well, is that confirmed? Is that a matter of fact, or is because there has not been any official
within those who took part in the talks?
Okay, so if I take your word for it that all the participants accept to basically do away with the retroactive provision in the interest of having a constitution, and UDP thinks otherwise. I think these are political choices made by political players for their political interests. I'm speaking as a Gambian, and my concern is the interest of Gambia. And I think, in my own personal view, I'm speaking as a concerned citizen. I'm not even speaking for the bar. I think there are many good provisions, many good progressive provisions in that draft constitution, or whatever nature it will come as. I don't know if I should even call it draft anymore. For example, I cannot imagine us going to election with simple majority. We are a very divided country. It means a party can win an election with maybe 29% or 30%. In a multi-party democracy, I would have expected that at least a 50+1 would really ensure that we have a government of national unity at all times. So I think for all those reasons and many other very progressive provisions, I personally, if that's what it took to have a constitution, in as much as I would express my disappointment, I would actually, say, look, okay, let's go ahead and take the constitution, because there are so many good provisions in this constitution, so many good progressive constitutions. Why should we only not have the constitution because of one particular provision, even if it means, or if it's perceived as giving in to the incumbent? After all, the incumbent has to win an election to benefit from that clause. If he doesn't win the election, it's a moot point. So I think we have to look at the bigger picture, if you ask me. But I do understand the concerns that, as a matter of principle, someone would say, well, I'm not going to give in because Gambia is bigger than the president or any one person. And I agree, the Gambia is bigger than any one person, including the president and all the political parties put together, and Gambia will outlive all of them. And I think we should look at Gambia at all times. It's rather fortunate that our destiny hinges on the whims and caprices of it is rather disappointing. Really, what have we changed? What have we decided as a country, really?
Now, I want to ask you one final question, Mr. Tal. What do you make of DOI? This is a big boy political party. But when it comes to this route or this path that the government has carved, they have decided to steer clear. They stay away from it. What do you make of their role in all of this?
I don't think it's in my place to say what is right or wrong when it comes to a particular political party, mainly DOI, and I have a lot of respect for DOI. But I personally believe that, it is better to honor an invitation. Even, since you're invited as a major political party, as a party that has really played a very critical role in shaping our democracy, I think they should at the table. I'm not saying they should go to Nigeria, but when all the political parties were called in, they should participate and express their reservations about the process, and maybe they can have influence inside. I'm not saying that they should pack and go to Nigeria, but I think it's better to be inside and express your views, because I know there are many. I mean, I participated initially, even though I have a lot of reservations about the process, and I was very loud about my reservation. But I thought if I'm invited, national idea, Minister of Justice, I was there, and I did express my views about in the interest of my country. But I don't believe in boycotting a process. I believe in dialogue because you have more influence within than outside. Even if one believes that the process is flawed or may not succeed, I think they ought to have come and explain themselves, or at least if they did not come on the table, they could have issued a press release as early as possible to tell us why they've decided not to participate. I'm not sure that happened. It was at the right time. That's my personal opinion. But Peter is probably best known to them, decided not to participate and actually started a parallel process, which unfortunately did not succeed.
Based on at the earlier stage, I know I asked you the last question, but this will be my very last question, and that has to do with civil society. You are a leader of the Gambia Bar Association. You participated in the initial meetings that took place. Civil society participated, and I understand that the leader of the civil society in the country was also part of those that traveled, which I was not able to make of the role of civil society. Do you impact can the civil society make in terms of making sure that the country goes past this?
To be frank to you, civil society was not given any prominent role in this whole process. We actually had to fight to even have the little presence we have, which I think I said we were mere bystanders in the whole process. I mean, a process like this actually should have been led by civil society, not even the Minister of Justice, because I think the Minister of Justice is part of the executive. And I'm not sure they are an honest broker in this whole process, with all due respect to them. So I think this whole process should have been driven by civil society. Civil society should have been the one to bring the political parties to the table. And in this instance, international idea, Minister of Justice, civil society were merely called in to just tick the box. We had very little. We were invited to a dinner. I spoke on behalf of civil society. I had my 5 minutes or 10 minutes to express our views to President Jonathan, and we made it very clear to us that the issue of constitution making is not only about political parties, it's about the country, the citizenry, and we want a constitution that reflects the aspirations of the people. And it is not always the case that political parties have the interests of the people. As you can see, it is those same political parties who actually voted against the same draft constitution. And for the record, John Charles Njai did not go to Nigeria as reported in the press. I was actually surprised. When I had the news on QTV, I called him. I said, John, apparently you're in Nigeria, but he did not go to Nigeria. And no civil society member went to Nigeria. And no civil society member sat in any closed meeting in this process. What would happen is, after the meeting, they would come and give civil society a briefing. So we're really being informed as to what is happening. We were not giving access to the option papers. We're merely being informed and of the progress of the dialogue. If you recall, we had a press conference and expressed our frustration of the entire process, given that we were really not allowed to participate. And I think civil society should have been given a prominent role because we can give more legitimacy to the process.
Stal, thank you very much for speaking to me there. Appreciate it, much appreciated. Thank you.
It's a pleasure,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Salihu Tal, President of the Gambia Bar Association, speaking to me there, which will bring us to the end of today's show. Thank you for being there. We'll be back next week. Until then, my name is Lamin Jai.